the Dreamliner, including Air Canada here. The Dreamliner, 15,000 kilometer range, carbon fiber, fuselage, and a great wing. And of course, a wing, like an aircraft in flight, has 4 forces on it: lift, drag, gravity, and thrust. Now, lift, of course, is derived from the coefficient of lift times the air pressure times the velocity squared times the area of the wing divided by 2. Normally, you would get the coefficient of lift from a fluid dynamics calculation or a wind tunnel. But for a thin airfoil like the 787, we can approximate 2 times pi times the angle of attack in radians. Now, interestingly, is a Bernoulli explanation Coanda or Newtonian physics? Is that really the way that... Oh, sorry, I forgot where I was. Scratch all that. I'm here to talk about YVR and how YVR brings lift to British Columbia for people's ambitions, for their endeavors, for their aspirations and their business goals. It's a big talk, and so I thought I would bring some people along to help me. I thought they'd actually do a lot more of the talking, but they're going to be interspersed throughout my presentation. First person, Sam Samadar from Kelowna.
Buddy, great to be with you here today.
And second is James Henderson, the president and CEO of Avigilon.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Scott Jacob, principal from Jacob Brothers.
Hello, Craig. Thank you very much for including me today.
Ms. Penny Wilson from Hootsuite, the chief marketing officer.
Thanks, Craig. Nice to be here.
Ruby Ng, the executive director of Disability Foundation.
Hi, Craig. I'm honored to be here.
And Councillor Wendy Grant-John from the Musqueam Indian Band.
Hi, Craig. Nice to be here with you today.
So we'll be hearing from these people throughout our presentation, but first, what I'd like to talk about is last year and the exceptional growth we've been seeing. Now, the past 5 years, we have been lifting more passengers for BC than I could have imagined. Last year, we hit 24.146 million, an 8.4% increase in passengers. That is almost 1.9 million more than 2016, which was 2 million more than 2015. And now we're forecasting 31 million by 2022. When I stood on the stage last year, I didn't imagine it would be that strong. We were trying to get to 25 million by 2020, and we're going to blow by that next year. Why is that happening? Well, because we have a strong economy in BC and in Canada in general, around the world. I think our Connect YVR rates and charges has something to do with that. Some of the lowest airline fees and charges in North America. And what has that led to? New destinations, increased frequencies to our existing and new destinations, and higher load factors. Load factors are basically how full an aircraft is. A decade ago, they were in the 70s. Now you see 91% full to Europe, 86% full to Latin America. Another amazing fact, in the summer, we have 1,500 seats each way, so 3,000 people a day flying to London, 6 flights. Amazing. We see global aviation up by about 64%, doubling again in the next 20 years. If I sound a little startled, folks, it's because I am, because Vancouver is now the fastest growing international airport in North America. It's important for the region, and you're going to hear about that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about where this growth came from and which sectors have been growing the strongest. Well, first of all, hats off to our domestic carriers, starting with, well, at 5.4% growth for our domestic traffic. WestJet had a great year. New service to Comox and Nanaimo, increased service to Fort McMurray, Edmonton, Calgary, and Fort St. John. And of course, Air Canada, with their extensive domestic network, they had new service to Yellowknife. And Kevin Howlett, where are you? Kevin, thanks for coming, you and your team. And we also welcomed in December a new carrier, Flair Airlines, flying from Vancouver to Kelowna and Edmonton. And Mike Scott, if you're here, good to see you. Jim Scott. Let's talk about transborder to the US. And transborder with Air Canada was an amazing year. New services, Dallas, Denver, Boston. Increased frequencies to LA, San Jose, much anticipated service to Orlando, and Sacramento announced for May 2018. We're going to talk about those in a minute, but wow, transborder traffic, spectacular. Our mission is to connect BC proudly to the world, and we did just that. International growth up 13.1%. 11 new carriers and additional services, 2 new carriers. All markets saw very strong growth. Let's start with China. In March, Cathay Pacific kicked off new service to Hong Kong with their A350-900. The aircraft shown here, a beauty, a little bit bigger than the 787, same kind of carbon fuselage. It was the first to arrive at YVR, and now we have 3 flights to Hong Kong. China Southern from Guangzhou to Mexico City, our first link from China through Vancouver to Mexico City. I'll talk about that in a minute. Our new partner, Hong Kong Airlines, Jackie Chan on the inaugural. When I knew that was happening, I practiced getting ready to fight him, and I folded like a cheap suit when I saw what he was capable of. But Hong Kong Airlines gives us another flight to Hong Kong. That's 3 a day. Iceland Air increased their service to year-round. Now you can go to Reykjavik, the land of the midnight sun, or for the Northern Lights. If you haven't been there yet, get to Reykjavik on Iceland Air. Air New Zealand, 10th anniversary. They had a haka performance on the ramp. Very beautiful and frankly a little intimidating. Air New Zealand, another one of our great carriers. Sunwing to Montego Bay. Congrats to our friends at Vantage. George Casey, glad to see you're here. Vantage, of course, made Sangster International amazing. Is there any way to pause that there? Yeah, you gotta pause that, on Montego Bay. Just for a second, so I can say thanks. And YVR, or Vantage, a big part of the success of Sangster International Airport for over a decade. Okay, good. Let's talk about Air Canada internationally, to Nagoya, to Frankfurt, to Taipei and Gatwick, and of course, to Melbourne in December. And that flight to Melbourne, of course, 16 hours. 2 aircraft are required. That's a $400 million investment for Melbourne alone. And how do you do that? By banking. Now, Phil from CIBC, Phil, don't get excited. This is actually airline banking. And why does banking work? Because it's economies of scale. You bring in all kinds of flights, you get on flights that then leave, and you have to be very efficient and economical when you do it. So Air Canada has a 787 that leaves Newark, New Jersey, lands in YVR in the evening, and then heads off to Melbourne. Amazing. People can come through, connect onto the lie flat beds in the 787 or the very nice economy class. I went there, by the way, scared people on the beach. And on the way back, same kind of thing. You go back from Melbourne through to YVR, connect through customs. Okay, somehow, does that go back and not all the way to Newark?
Sorry, give me 1 sec. My problem.
Yeah, sorry. It's the first time I've seen it standing up here, so.
You're so much more comfortable just doing this, like walking and talking.
Does it look okay, like this amount of walking?
Yeah, it looks good.
Craig, it's awesome. It does not go back to Newark. We add in the U.S. destinations. And
Okay, so Melbourne doesn't, it goes back to YVR?
it goes Newark through all the way to Melbourne, and then we add in the U.S. destinations.
So it doesn't go back.
All the way
Okay,
to
good.
Melbourne. Yeah.
Okay, so start again at Newark if you could.
Let me just cue it up.
Okay. Flight starts in Newark. So basically New York. Okay, where are we? Newark. Lands in YVR. People quickly transfer through, get onto their airplane, and head to Melbourne. Now that's just one flight. Let's talk about just those new cities that were added by Air Canada this year. Not all the other ones, just these ones. Look at those flying into Vancouver, getting on all 3 flights to Australia. And of course, it happens in reverse. People from Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane arrive in Vancouver about the same time, and they can get on flights into the States. Those flights from Australia through Vancouver are now the best way, the fastest way to get from Australia to New York. And so you can get on that flight as well in either direction. That is the beauty of banking, and to do that, you need minimum connection times. It needs to be efficient. You need to have a baggage system that will support it. That's what we've been working on for 25 years. Of course, you don't have to just fly into the States. And that's going to get us 144 destinations. You don't just have to fly to the States. You can fly into Western Canada. Prince George, Edmonton, Calgary, Kamloops, Kelowna. And to talk about what this banking means for Kelowna, Sam Samadar, Kelowna Airport.
Vision for YLW has become the best mid-sized airport in North America, which supports our city vision, which is to become the best mid-sized city in North America. YVR has been a tremendous partner, and the way I can best describe it is when we look at the connectivity between Kelowna and Vancouver, our busiest city pair is that link. In the summertime, we have 94 flights a week, which result in almost 7,500 seats. And in the wintertime, that grows to 130 flights a week, representing 10,000 seats. We're well known for our tourism, and we look at ski and golf and wine, agriculture. All those things certainly make the Okanagan unique. Our international traffic originates out of places like Melbourne and Brisbane that's destined for our local ski hills. We know on certain flights with the YVR Kelowna connection that we have 40% of that traffic that's destined for our Okanagan Mounts. Almost 50% of the landmass of Kelowna is tied into agriculture. And the example I could best give you is the cherry farmers who will produce and pick their cherries in the morning, put them through production during midday, and they're on refrigerated trucks to YVR as underbelly cargo on passenger flights heading to places like China and Japan. It's a tremendous synergy between the Okanagan and Vancouver in terms of forming the agricultural community here in the Okanagan. The best thing I can say between YVR and YLW is it's all about collaboration, about working together. We all share the same passenger.
Of Kelowna Airport. So we talked about lift. Let's talk about another force acting on an aircraft or an airport, drag. And what happens when you eliminate drag? Mexico City. A few years ago, we had only one flight. Air Canada, great flight, great service, but only one flight a day. Now, with the lifting of visa restrictions, we have got Aeromexico flying double daily, Interjet flying 4 times a week, WestJet about to go daily in May, and China Southern flying from Guangzhou through Vancouver to Mexico City. Of course, there's a lot of other places they fly to in Mexico, but I just want to concentrate on Mexico City. 1,400 daily return seats in the winter of 2018, a day. 51% increase. Why? Lifting visa restrictions. Up to 5 direct flights. Now, why is this important? Let's look at some other regions and explain that. 28 flights a day to the US, nonstop because of open skies. 10 to the EU. Now we have 10 to China. We just announced yesterday Hainan from Shenzhen through Tianjin. 8 flights to Mexico, as I talked about. 3 nonstop flights to Australia. And the nonstop flights to South America, still 0. A continent of 420 million people, with cities like Buenos Aires, Santiago, Rio, Lima, La Paz. Nothing going there. We have visa-free transit with Chinese cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Xiamen, Fuzhou, Chengdu, Shenyang, and Harbin. Envision a flight from Rio on perhaps one of WestJet's new 787s or an Air Canada 777 flying through Vancouver to Guangzhou. You might have noticed we're right on the route and we're halfway between them. It is a huge missed opportunity. It is a drag on the economy of BC. We need bilaterals and visa requirements changed to South America. Another thing about airplanes, they carry cargo, not just people. Every destination creates opportunities for BC businesses. Local products go to new markets. We have the aircraft, the 787, the 747s, the A330s, they have the belly cargo capacity. In fact, we're up 315,500 tons last year, a 10.8% increase. Sam talked about cherry farmers and a lot of other perishables from gooey duck clams to crabs. There are many other products, including high technology services like the high definition security cameras and systems that James Henderson is going to talk about from Avigilon.
The history of Avigilon is quite interesting. We were founded back in 2004 locally here in Vancouver, and since then we've really gone from a local manufacturer of video surveillance products into a global success story. We began really developing just video surveillance solutions, but have really expanded our product portfolio. And today we're a leader in artificial intelligence, delivering platforms that provide a greater level of learning and understanding of the environment, and are able to actually provide people the information they need to react. So really we've diversified our portfolio and continue to expand in the marketplace, allowing our customers to really solve real-world problems with unique advanced technology. We knew we wanted to manufacture our own products, but when you move into the manufacturing space, it's important that you are able to bring in materials and that you have access to be able to ship and receive things quickly and effectively. Being located close to YVR was an important part of our process in selection. We ship a massive amount of product throughout the globe. So we're talking tens of thousands of units that are moving in and out every single month for us. And as a company, we need to make sure that as we continue to scale, we are close to the resources that we need, such as YVR, to help support that scale.
Thanks, James. So, we're growing. We're a vital part of the BC community. What does this growth mean, and how do we maintain an exceptional customer service? And frankly, how do we keep up with these capacity demands? Well, these are good problems to have, and we have some innovative ways to deal with it. You're going to see in the future increased busing. Now, this is no different than other major hubs in the world, Hong Kong, Frankfurt, Amsterdam. We call them remote stand operations. You basically, when you arrive, you get on a bus and you get taken right to the back of customs, whether you're arriving from international destinations or the US. Going out, you'll actually get driven on one of these nice electric luxury buses out to the remote stand, and you will get on the aircraft. Being inside the building, it's a really nice process, and we checked with our customers. We did 2 busing operations last summer, and they didn't notice a difference. So let's talk about a big concept we're bringing to the board for next year. Just to orient you, there's the terminal from above. That's the international side, that's the transborder side, the hotel is right down here. What we're going to do is we're going to punch a taxiway right through into where we used to have vehicle parking. It used to be, there are 2,000 vehicles parked there now. We're going to park 10 aircraft. So we can have 10 simultaneous remote stand operations on the transborder side. There's some other parking for wide bodies I won't talk about. So what do? We're losing these 2,000 parking spots. Well, our great creative team at Parking Ground Transportation has come up with this idea. We're going to modify jet set parking. It's now going to be valet parking. So you'll come up, you'll actually book online, you'll come up, you'll drop off your keys at this nice building. Valet will park the cars, that's why we can fit them in tighter, and then you'll get on a bus and you'll get up to the terminal. It's like you park and fly at YVR. And there's all kinds of other parking options. I'll talk about the new parkade in a moment. We're also using technology inside the building to make sure we have efficient processes. We were the first major airport to put primary inspection kiosks in the customs hall. These are our own technology. They serve the passenger about 4 times faster. They're compatible with almost every international passport. And we've sold actually 1,300 of these at 39 airports around North America, the Caribbean, and into Europe. And of course, all the profits from those sales come back to help us run YVR. I'd like to have a shout out to Madonna Ratty and John Lindy. Where are you? Thanks very much. CBSA has been a great partner. We know they can't ever get the staffing that they would need otherwise. These kiosks saved us because this past summer we had 4,000 passengers an hour coming into our customs hall. Moving ahead with our ambitious plans, you remember, yes, last year I talked about how we're going to expand the terminal in all directions, the center expanded design. It's $1.7 billion the next 3 years. We've had to pull that in a little tighter because growth has happened so fast. So let me talk about some of the major projects you'll be seeing very soon. First of all, on the international side, D-Pier. I showed you pictures of this last year. Construction starts this year. We'll accommodate 8 gates, 4 contact gates and 4 busing gates. It'll have this beautiful West Coast representation you see here, digital art, energy saving, new food and exciting food and beverage, retail, lots of great new amenities. Now, not quite as sexy, but very important to us, new central utilities building. We are, by the way, the biggest building in British Columbia, so we need to heat and cool it, and we need backup electricity. You might have heard in the news, airports with some troubles with backup electricity. We have some great backup now, but we'll have some ginormous generators in this building in case anything goes wrong with our electrical feed. Part of this, oh sorry, I'm not done yet. Back. You'll know I'm done when I talk about one of the largest in Canada. Okay, a big part of this is the geothermal exchange. So we're going to use a geothermal plant to heat and cool the terminal, which will really reduce our greenhouse gases, especially in the winter. It's one of the largest geothermals in Canada. We're also starting a new parkade this year, 6 levels, some really interesting sustainability initiatives. Rainwater harvesting, take all the water that falls on the parkade, put it in a big cistern, and then if there's a drought, we can water all of our great landscaping. We also have a great emergency backup if there was an earthquake, and we can fight fires. They'll have at least 10% parking stalls will have electric vehicle charging, and there's a guidance system in there which will reduce frustration and emissions because there'll be a little green light over all of the empty stalls. It'll also connect to the existing parkade so you can change levels. Pier F, expanding the transborder pier, we're right now into concepts. All these are conceptual pictures, but you can get an idea of what that's going to look like. Currently, just conceptual, but certainly coming soon. We'll soon close the value lot to make room for that parkade. But don't worry, we're opening up another long-term lot right next to the Templeton station on the Canada line. Lots of things you don't normally see. The runway end safety areas. These are areas at the end of the runways for the unlikely event of an overshoot or an underrun by an aircraft. We've committed $150 million. We've done the south and the crosswind runways. We're starting the north soon. We're doing double the Canadian standard, which isn't even out yet. And why is that? Because when it comes to safety at YVR, the standard is where we begin, not where we finish. So there's lots of work, lots of concrete being poured, lots of steel being welded, and that lifts businesses. And Scott Jacobs from Jacob Brothers is going to talk about that.
So Jacob Brothers is a privately held construction company. We're based in Surrey, British Columbia. We started our business in early 2008. After individually having long, successful construction careers, we thought we'd go into business for ourselves. Companies specialize in heavy civil construction as well as building construction. We do a tremendous amount of work for various levels of government, blue chip companies, and also companies like YVR. Through our relationship with YVR, we do all manner of projects. Some are ground side, some are air side, some are on the airfield, and some are inside the terminal itself. We recently finished the runway end safety arrangement project, which is a airfield pavement extension project. One other example is the project we're on now, which is the Templeton South parking lot, where we're building critical infrastructure for part of the airport's redevelopment. So YVR has become an excellent client for Jacob Brothers Construction. It provides local projects. Many of our employees live and work in the Greater Vancouver area and appreciate the opportunity to work so close to home on exciting projects such as we have here at YVR. YVR is much more than a transportation hub for Jacob Brothers. It's a key source of employment, and it's something we value tremendously. As YVR grows, we all grow, we all benefit. The value of having this amount of construction close to home is just tremendous.
Thanks, Scott. You got to put that on there for me, Chris. Okay, for the last third of this presentation, I want to talk about the Airport Authority as a business. I've thrown up some really great pictures of airplanes and construction. You kind of expect that. But I want to talk to you about this company called the Airport Authority. It's a private business, not for profit. I know that's weird for you to understand, but what all that means is you are the shareholders and all the money gets reinvested back into the airport. We live here, our employees work here, raise their kids here, and so we love this place, BC, and we want to look after the airport the way that you would expect us to do because you're our neighbors and you're our ultimate owners. It's a big part of who we are. So let's talk about sustainability. When you look on the scale, you get market-driven, which are those organizations that are just keeping up, those that are engaged with their population and their communities, and those that are shaping the future. I'm very proud to say independent consultants, independent third parties have said we are way out there in terms of shaping the future of airport sustainability. This is important to us because sustainability, of course, cuts across all elements of our business. So let me just break that down a little more in terms of some of the numbers. A few years ago, if you look at the scale on the left is from 0 to 100%. A few years ago, we were actually below that. We were at about 40%. In 2015, we were at 60%. And through real focused efforts, in 2016, we hit 90%. We don't have the 2017 numbers yet. But that's pretty good, going from 40% to 90%. We can now say that even if we're not, if we're at the top right now, it's a journey. It's not a destination. But I'm very proud. It's the first time we've actually gone out and told the world about our sustainability numbers. So we're shaping the future of airport sustainability, and of course, sustainability has 4 pillars: economic, environment, social, and governance. So let's look at each one in turn. First of all, economic. Well, you know we play a significant role in the economy. 24,000 jobs at the airport, but I want you to think about the tens of thousands of jobs out there in everything from hotels, transportation, agriculture, cargo that depend on the airport. We facilitate $16.5 billion of total economic output, $8.4 billion in GDP, and there's $1.4 billion of vital government revenue that comes from the airport. And another point is we have a AA credit rating, and we also help companies as they grow and innovate. So I want to talk about one of the companies in that space right now. Penny Wilson is going to talk about Hootsuite, one of the leaders in the innovation space.
Hi, I'm Penny Wilson. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Hootsuite, and I'm here at HQ3, which is primarily our marketing team. Hootsuite was founded in 2008 by Ryan Holmes. The headquarters is here in Vancouver, and we've grown from a handful of people to almost 1,000 people around the globe in 15 different offices. You know, YVR is truly a global airport, really helping a company like us to be effective globally. Whether we're out there to visit our customers, or we're bringing customers in, or we're moving employees around the world, this is truly an important hub for us. And I think just fundamentally the experience you get when you walk into YVR, for me as a Canadian, I feel proud, and then when I come back from somewhere, I just feel like it's such a welcoming place. I feel like I'm home.
Well, thank you, Penny. Well, we're very aware we have a big impact on the environment. So we have a very, very strong environmental management plan with some pretty lofty goals. We want to reduce our emissions by 33% by 2020, reduce our waste by 50%, and a reduction in water usage. I have to tell you, I was surprised to find that one of the hardest targets for us is at reducing our water usage. And let's just say we have millions of people and lots of toilets. Let me talk about a couple of specific examples. In 2017, we did the largest apron installation of LED lights. There's the very romantic picture on the left, and on the right, what it looks like with new LEDs. Certainly saves a lot of energy, about 715,000 kilowatt hours, enough to power 72 homes for a year. But look at the safety aspects of that and how much clearer and brighter that is around the ramp. Another small example, but I think really clever, we use a lot of chopsticks. So we're now recycling 19,000 chopsticks a month. We send them to Chop Value, and they turn them into beautiful bamboo products. In fact, I'm looking forward to putting some of their products, like tabletops, into our expanded terminals. We renewed our Level 2 carbon accreditation with Airport Council International. Not an easy thing to do, and we're going for Level 3, which means everybody on Sea Island will have to be on board, and we're doing it without offsets. We maintain something very near and dear to our heart. We were the first airport in the world to be called Salmon Safe. It's an independent organization that makes sure that we are restoring, protecting, and enhancing the environment for salmon. How could we not do this? Our airport sits in the middle of one of the most important salmon rivers in the world, not to mention important to the people of BC. We got a really great award from the Chicago Department of Aviation last year, the Project Green YVR Award for Climate Smart, helping our partners on Sea Island reduce their carbon footprint. So the third pillar is social. We're a community-based airport, so we need to reflect our communities and our region. We have made big strides in 4 designated groups. I'm very proud of how we've done with with women. 38% of our board of directors are women, including our chair, 40% of the management team, 44% of the executive team, and men and women, of course, in the union, in our bargaining unit, get paid exactly the same, and we're working very hard to get women into non-traditional roles in the union. Men and women in management get paid the same. So my marker to you as business leaders out there is, can you say the same? And if you can't say that, what are you going to do about it? We've been actually honored by our practices in diversity. We got the best practices in enhancing boardroom diversity from the Governance Professionals of Canada last year. I'm a member of the President's Group. This is a group of business leaders that is looking to put more persons with disabilities to work and to improve accessibility. Really open my eyes to this untapped resource we have in BC. We've done a lot to help our passengers. We've upgraded the terminal with visual paging system for those who have hearing loss, high contrast tiles for those who have vision loss, accessible facilities in every way, and even a pet relief area for those who use assistant or comfort dogs. We want everybody to fly, so we work on making flying accessible. Last year, we worked with the Canucks Autism Network with the I Can Fly program. This is a program where you put a little sticker on the boarding pass. Everybody knows how to look after people with autism. It's available for every airport in Canada. We're giving it away for free. In fact, Sam in Kelowna has started it, and in fact, Vantage is taking it to Cyprus. We have many partners in many of these communities because we really do believe in providing the highest quality of life while you travel and while you live in BC. And Ruby Ng is happy to share more about that.
The vision for the Disability Foundation is to empower people with physical disabilities to reimagine what is possible. Our mission is to provide opportunities for active living, outdoor adapted activities, and special assistance in order to empower each individual's journeys. Participants have opportunities to engage in hiking in the wilderness using the trail rider, as well as adapted paddleboarding, as well as adapted kayaking. For the Disability Sailing Association, it is an incredible, incredible experience to be able to be on the open water, to feel the sense of independence and freedom being out in an adapted Martin 16 sailboat. There are participants who had never been on the water before. They had never imagined that they could have an experience where they leave the disability or they leave their wheelchair back on shore. That's one of the transformational experiences, and that's what we mean when we say we want to help people reimagine what's possible. YVR helps generate lift for the Disability Foundation specifically by showing their commitment to accessibility and inclusion, by enabling us to raise awareness and let more people know about the opportunities for quality of life and active living for people with physical disabilities. We have aspirational goals, we have an aspirational vision. We believe that with teamwork, anything is possible, and we love that one of our leading partners is YVR.
Well, thank you very much, Ruby. The last pillar of sustainability is governance. Our model as a community-based airport compels us to enhance and broaden our community at the airport. We have a long-term lease with the federal government that makes us stewards of the airport, worried about how we're bringing it forward and what we're going to do with the land in the future. We recognize the Musqueam Indian Band has used Sea Island for thousands of years. It's a traditional territory. But we don't just recognize this with words. We actually signed a major milestone in 2017, a historic 30-year agreement with the Musqueam Indian Band, the Sustainability and Friendship Agreement, which includes revenue sharing, jobs, apprenticeships, close partnerships, and an ongoing support of operations at the airport. Really excited about it. It's really about fostering a great friendship and partnerships going forward, and it's exciting to think what it's going to do to both the airport and to the Musqueam over the next 30 years. And Wendy Grant-John is going to talk about that.
Musqueam's vision has always been to maintain our traditional values and ensure that there's a sustainability for our people to be able to live the lives that they have always lived at the mouth of the river, and to ensure that we have good governance that manages all of the opportunities that we have in creating wealth for our young people and supporting our elders. The Sustainability and Friendship Agreement with YVR started many years ago. 2 years ago, we had the opportunity to sit with the senior people at YVR and said, you know, we really want to take this relationship much farther than looking at art and the kinds of opportunities within some of your committees. What makes YVR a really good partner is their willingness to come to the table, take off their preconceived ideas of what an Indigenous community is looking for in a friendship agreement, and listening to what our goals and aspirations are and incorporating that into the friendship agreement that we've put down. It was so emotional for myself, and we brought the elders out to be a part of the signing. It was highly charged emotionally and one that was such a success, not just for Musqueam, but for YVR, and indeed, I believe, not just for the City of Vancouver or the Province of British Columbia, but for all Canadians to see. If you can come to a table and really look from your heart as well as your eyes, we can create such a beautiful opportunity for everybody to succeed.
Well, thank you, Wendy. So, you've seen we're growing. You've seen our impact on the business of BC. You've seen that we really take our part in the community seriously. In fact, I'm most proud of the last couple of speakers that you saw there and what we're doing with the community. And people say to me, what's your secret? Well, it all comes down to people. To paraphrase Pericles from 2,500 years ago, it comes down to people who are ashamed to fall below a certain standard. So we've got pictures of those people up here. We have great programs like the YVR Stars event, which is just coming up. I think it's next week. It's hilarious, good fun. And what the Stars Award is, anybody in the airport can spot somebody doing something great for a customer and give them a YVR star. We have our green coats, of course, our magnificent volunteers. It comes down to these people. Now, I wish our people had, more finely developed sense of humor, because some of them are in the audience today, and they were supposed to be here to give me some lift jokes or puns, and the best one was, I want to give a shout out to elevators because they lift me up when I'm down. And now you can see why I didn't really use very many of their jokes, but they're here in the audience today. Happy to have them. The most telling thing, or the biggest award that we get, I think, every year is the Skytrax Award. 8 years in a row, the first airport or airline to receive 8 years in a row. Millions of people vote on that, and with everything that we're doing, if we can keep our customer service to the level that we get that award, well, we feel pretty good about it. So to wrap up, we're growing, we're trying very hard, we're not perfect, we make mistakes. Please don't think that we think we're perfect. We know we make mistakes. If we do, we stumble, we pick ourselves up quickly, we learn from it, and we move on. But I want to thank you for your support over the past year when there was a lot of talk from the government about share capitalization. The people of BC, business councils, the province, municipalities all chimed in and said, no, we like the airport the way it is. I want to thank you for your help during the master plan over the last several years. I want to thank you for your patience during construction. We're going to do everything we can to keep any kind of disruption to your travel to a minimum. But I want to thank you mainly for another great year. So thanks very much. Okay, the first thing is, if you like this presentation, and you've got a big presentation coming up for your company, Hyphen's right over there, go and see them. And I want to give a shout out to Glenn. I'll do that one tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow morning. And finally, you might have been noticing my really funky socks, the YVR socks. Everybody's going to get a pair of socks. You're going to get a pair of socks, and you're going to get a pair of socks, and they're in your vase. There's no contest. Don't fight over them. Everybody gets a pair of socks. And you can feel good when you wear these socks, because for every one you're wearing, a pair was donated to at-risk kids at Covenant House. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. 36 minutes?
39:43.
Fuck, that was worked. It worked. Can that be it? Can that be the one? Hey, Eric, did you film that? We can just, play that tomorrow. In case it all goes to shit. Excellent. And then we've got Phil that'll come on screen.
Bring to Phil. Oh, you don't have it yet.
We don't have it yet. I think I could just pull this Stannis graphic over, couldn't I?
You could, but then it would say Stannis. So let's put in that sustainability one.
Yeah.
I actually was sitting there tweaking other stuff, and I turned and said, so where does that go? And because I thought you were still standing there, and you disappeared, and then I forgot to ask you again. So just yeah, then we just need to fix the audio on that.
Right there. Yeah.
Just tremendous.
And then the other thing I wrote was the pop frame actually. Same thing right here. It's just that moment where it transfers, I believe. There. Yep. Don't you dare, Robin. Have fun. Good luck.
So, decimated arrived today, or? But quite honestly, I was watching him walk around back and forth, and he's looking at both of the companies. So,
well, I think the thing to say is potentially a performance question, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Taking, we're having a super sample, scale everything down again.
Yes.
It's all half, so it's looking pretty hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So. It's a codec that's showing up a lot. Okay. It's not dating, but it means that the solution to yeah. Half of the code is entirely on that. On the card. So it's all EXP is all the same.
I don't know. It's not MP4.
Yeah, exactly. It's not MP3. Oh, come on! Watch shows. It's all about the MPEG too.
That's true. Yeah.
It still is. Is it really? Yes, sir.
Get the possibly.
Well, just the bank that we have to although we'd have to do everything. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true actually, yeah. And yeah, have that.
No.
Oh yeah.
Well, no. Well, no, it's 12-foot viewable. That is 12 feet. So
oh, that's right.
The surface, the frame will go just outside.
I mean, they're gonna come here and do the other thing to remember too. Yeah, we're not having to do well, that's what oh, right. You could just lay it down. So we don't have to flip it back over because you can just pull the snaps from the other side and then take the line back and then
Tell you what, we'll just get them inspected out.
probably think you would have anyway.
Well, and quite frankly, they only need to lose one row of tables. They didn't need to have two away.
Yeah.
So if they do the deck in one row, yeah. You mentioned it to Garth in the morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go.
some VBot stuff hooked in.
Hello, Amelia.
Okay, we give them the news that the Stantec slide, that's in the whole deck, okay, YVR is not approving usage of that particular slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now my bill upstairs calling them. Okay, so they need to submit a new slide to us. So whether it's a slide we used from last year's or they're going to give us a new slide. So I just want to double check with you. What are your timelines for that?
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
So the hold slide is easy enough to drop in. The other one has been built into a movie for the loop, so I need to put that into the PowerPoint and then re-export that movie and do a bit of work. So I need an hour to turn that around and do all the fun things.
Okay.
If it comes first thing, or it gets emailed to us like first thing in the morning, we'll be able to get it in.
Okay, so
But sooner the better.
okay, so give me a timeline that you're comfortable with.
We could have it for 8 a.m. That'd be awesome.
Okay, 8 a.m.
Yeah, they go for its size. So, and the difference is we hold the distance on the side of the lake.
Introducing each of the people.
Sure, can you just give me... Can you guys just literally tell Craig 1 second? I'm just making like 2 more quick changes. Just want to get this...
Probably,
I'll be in the room setting up.
Yeah, just let me get this. I'm almost done.
And we'll wait till Craig finishes.
And
then you let me know when we'll just go through
I just deleted that one slide, right,
Do
Brian?
you need to see it big, or can you do it on the monitor?
I prefer to see it big.
Okay. I think you just have to, it's just, they're into overtime now, so give John the heads up on that part.
Chris, you know that you're in overtime
That's
now.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to have more than an hour overtime.
That's fine, yeah.
No worries, I'll come find you.
Okay, just give me a shout. Okay,
Absolutely.
You and the slides are my top priority.
And he's my top priority.
Okay, yes.
As soon as he's happy.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. You're
So you
all
let me know,
my
okay?
top
You know you have
priority.
more, okay?
I'm
And
gonna,
I'll drop everything.
I'm going to have to make one change now. We're getting rid of one of the sustainability graphs.
Cool.
And so, thankfully, deleting something's not hard for me. But because there's some alpha channel movement and shit, I am going to have to go re-export it and give you a new file.
Is it the same length?
No.
Can you... which section is
that one there? Sustainability. So this here, if you just play this through, that graph is going to stay.
Yeah.
This graph is going to go. We're going to not put it back, not put it anywhere else. We keep it around, but it's going to go straight from that first graph over to. If I just work my way through this here, it's going to go straight from that first graph to that, and you can see I've got a bit of an alpha channel on that timeline there. It's where it layers over top.
Wait, Brian.
The only alternative is if you can fade that first graph maybe to a white as those come over.
Well, if you have to spit it out, if you can just keep, I don't know how you've got your timeline built, but can you just drag the last frame of that?
Yeah,
leave the length
and
the
we'll
same size, and just basically cover up those other two, so it becomes...
We'll put a jump in, yeah.
And that way, yeah, we'll do a jump, but then this doesn't change length.
And I'll add in this, so we can take that edit out.
Oh, well, this is fine. I mean, this is working now. It's just that little box. That's
okay, well, you will have to change the out point, because that is only there because I tried to get you that little piece at one point in time. So I'll just give it to you.
Sure.
It'll be to length.
No worries.
Brian,
let's do it then real quick here.
To confirm, it goes like this now, and then right to that. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm ready when they're ready.
So is this in advance of the standards thing, or?
No, we're gonna jump past the lift, garbledy-gook. We're gonna jump right in on the introduction to people. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah.
So we're definitely keeping the two comfy link.
Okay, Craig, ready when you are.
So
no problem.
John, no change to the wiring?
No change.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Comfy's linked.
as expected when I got the lap on.
Yeah, exactly.
He's also like, I actually need both because I get over here and I'm James
Well,
Henderson.
that's just it. I could see it as he was walking back and forth. He was switching his view. So yeah, as expected.
Well, now that it's here, perhaps I will borrow the decimator and just see if putting it in place of that little thing makes picture happen more readily.
Oh, is picture not happening with this?
No, I haven't had a chance to.
You have a power supply? Okay. Here's the actual machine.
And does it have? What does it have?
Okay. Did you want to just watch it from right here?
Well, yeah, I'll do it right here. So,
okay.
and I'll go.
Forget about all that.
Oh, forget all that. Folks, what I'm here today is to talk about how YVR generates lift for BC. Lift for your ambitions, for your businesses. Lift in every way possible. Now, this is a big thing for us to do. So I thought I'd bring along a little help here, and here's some folks who will help me talk about it. So we're going to start with Sam Samadar from Kelowna.
Hey, Craig, buddy, great to be with you here today.
I'm just going to be watching, and as soon as I get about 4 seconds notice. Can you just rewind just one bit? I want to see that one more time without talking.
Let me just do one quick thing on my end.
Just go to generate lift and let it go. And I'm going to
generates lift, and we're into it.
Blah, blah, blah. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000,
Can you go dig up a mini display port for HDMI?
6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. It's 10 seconds.
Hey, Craig, buddy, great to be with you here today.
John, just right under that keyboard there should be a
generates lift for BC.
YVR generates lift for BC for businesses and aspirations. I got some help. Brought some great high-powered help with me. Hopefully, they're going to take your mind off my talking. Starting with my friend, manager of Kelowna Airport.
Hey, Craig, buddy, great to be with you here today.
Okay.
I'll figure it out. I got 10 seconds.
Here's what I can do that's actually not difficult to do is this color shift that you see here.
Yep.
That one right there.
Yep.
Because I got to go change the sustainability one.
Sorry.
What I could do is, no, that's fine. What I can do is I can keep it the exact same length, but let Sam have a much longer fade up. So we'll let his color come on, but he doesn't talk right away. So basically you'll see...
No, you know what? Don't change it.
Okay.
I can adjust.
Hey, Craig, buddy, great to be with you here.
More or less go here.
The one thing is, when you do nail it, the next one's coming at you right away. So
I know.
Oh,
exactly.
God. Oh, James Henderson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
let's do the first few. So
let's do it right from scratch.
Yeah.
And all right, you know what?
So you know what? And this is fantastic. And let's talk about Bernoulli versus Coanda, and then I'm gonna turn. Scrap. I forgot where I was. Scrap all that. What I want to talk about today is how YVR generates lift for British Columbia. Lift people's aspirations, lift for businesses, lift for people all over BC. Now this is a big topic, so I brought in some high-powered help to help me talk about it. And actually, I don't want to talk so much, so they're going to come in at various times. First person is Sam Samadar, the Managing Director of Kelowna Airport.
Hey, Craig, buddy, great to be with you here today.
And the next one is whatever the guy's name is from the Vigilance. James Henderson from Vigilance.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
From Jacob Brothers Construction, Scott Jacobs, Principal.
Hello, Craig. Thank you very much for including me today.
From Hootsuite is Penny Wilson, who's the Manager of Marketing.
Thanks, Craig. Nice to be here.
And Ruby Inc.
Hi, Craig. I'm honored to be here.
And Wendy Grant Johns from the Musqueam Indian Band. Wendy.
Hi, Craig. Nice to be here with you today.
There. We'll get it. Yeah.
That's good.
Go for sure. 10 seconds. I can do it.
You get a little feel for it tomorrow. And then
All right.
Hey, the good news is if you miss Sam, he doesn't turn the lights. Sorry, Sam.
Exactly.
But you talk longer than everybody anyway, so.
So he's good, eh?
Yeah, I just got to make that sustainability change. We're not going to do another rehearsal. In the interest of time, let's do two real quick things. One, let's add Phil, P-H-I-L at the end. We'll just put it up there so they have a quick laugh and feel good about it. And then we'll get Amelia over.
Where do we go to? Back to the YVR stuff at the end? Are you done with audio, Brian? Can I just miss my audio?
I think so, yeah. I think we're good with audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay to stay for another few minutes? Just to sort of...
Oh, I can do it. I'll walk it through.
The audio guys, we don't need it. We're not going to do something else.
I can also jump on it.
I got to do some more.
Cool. Yeah, so Fader, Jesse, you guys can pack up. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Just
guys.
leave the PA up. I'll mute the or turn off the amp.
PHIL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can kill it.
She's on select that.